The book that I'm thinking of is the epitome of 10 out of 10 vibes, 3 out of 5 book. I will just summarize this book by saying I absolutely hated it and it was awful. There's no redeeming qualities for this book. The more that I think about it, the more I think that I am kind of obsessed with it. Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today I am talking about my quarter 2 reads, and it's shocking. We're more than halfway done with the year at the point of me filming this. It's July 4th, which happy 4th of July to everyone who is in the US and celebrating. Quarter 2 was pretty wild for me. I didn't have as much time to read as quarter 1, so it's a little bit less. I believe in quarter 1 I read 25 books, which really was a lot for me. In quarter 2 it was a little bit more normal, which was 19 books. So it was just slightly more than 6 books per month, which it kind of seems like is my average. Most months I would say that I tend to read 6 books. And so this was just one month I read 7 books. Quarter 2, just for reference, is April, May, and June of 2024 when I'm filming this. As I mentioned, it's now July. So this is just looking back on my quarter 2 reads. For a more specific look at these books and what I actually thought about them and what I rated them specifically, I use a Cawpile rating, which is much more in depth than just 5 stars or whatever. It's rating based on characters, atmosphere, writing, plot, intrigue, logic, and enjoyment. And that spells out C-A-W-P-I-L-E, Cawpile, which if you've watched any of my monthly recap videos, then you know all about the Cawpile method and you've seen it in action. If you want to learn more about these books, then I would recommend checking out my monthly recaps. I will link the playlist to them below, and then you can see I always put a screenshot of the book on the thumbnail for it, so it's pretty easy to figure out which specific video is talking about which specific book you would like to look for more information on. This video hopefully is just going to be very quick, and it's just going to be placing them in the different categories just so that you can see, for me personally, where they would be ranking, because some of these surprised me. So let's jump right into it. First of all, the rankings that I have are obsessed 6 out of 5. Cannot stop thinking about these books. I absolutely love them. I don't usually purchase books, but pretty much anything in this category is something that I would like to purchase one day because I absolutely will read it again. And then solid 5 stars, still a really good book. I'm just not obsessed with it. I don't think that it's a 6 out of 5. There's maybe one small thing that I didn't like, or just, I don't know, just the vibes weren't there for me completely, but I still really enjoyed the read. That's solid 5 stars. And then quite good, that's roughly give or take 4 stars, but it's really not an exact equivalent for me. Quite good could be anything from 4.5 stars to 3.5 stars, depending on exactly how I feel about it. It's not something where I would say this is a solid 5 stars and this is a really good book. It's just, I enjoyed it in general. And then 10 out of 10 vibes, 3 out of 5 book. I had a specific book in mind when I wrote this. I just feel like the book that I'm thinking of is the epitome of 10 out of 10 vibes, 3 out of 5 book. And that's more like the writing was bad, or the dialogue was bad or unbelievable, or the plot just had a lot of plot holes, the logic was off, something like that. One of those things, or maybe 1 or 2 of those things. However, I still really enjoyed the book in general, and the vibes were just immaculate. And then meh, that's just a 3 out of 5, give or take. I didn't really feel particularly strong one way or the other. I didn't actively like it. I didn't actively dislike it. It's just meh. And then thanks, hated it. I also had a specific book in mind when I wrote that tier. These are just the books that I really did not like. I didn't DNF them. That's the tier below the last one. But I powered through and I read the book and I hated it. And I wish I never read it, and I should have DNF'd it. That's this tier. So let's jump right into it. First, I have Bride by Ali Hazelwood. This one I rated 5 stars on Goodreads. I rated it 4.5 and rounded up to 5. I think because I rated it 4.5, I'm gonna put it in quite good. I don't think it's a solid 5 stars. I don't think it's like I don't know, an award-winning literary masterpiece of a book or anything like that. I think that the smut was really not my style and I did not like it. I think some things were questionable, but overall, I just really enjoyed it. So I'm going to put it there. Paladin's Grace by T. Kingfisher. If you know me, you know that I love T. Kingfisher. She's one of my favorite authors ever. I think her writing is so good. This book, though, was a fantasy mystery, and I don't know why I didn't know that before I read it, but I really don't like mystery books. So for me, I'm also just going to put this in quite good. I am going to arrange them within here, though, and I'm going to say that it's above. I will say this might not make much sense to you if you've watched my actual rating videos, my monthly recaps, because I rated this also 4.5 stars, but I rounded down to 4 and I rounded up to 5 with Bride. So technically Bride should be ahead. However, I just think based on the actual book, not the vibes, but just the pure book and how it was written and the plot and everything, I think I have to put Paladin's Grace before Bride, because I think as an actual book, it was just written so much better than Bride, even though I enjoyed Bride a little bit more because of the vibes. I still feel like Paladin's Grace deserves to be ahead. And then the next one is Saphirblau, which is Sapphire Blue. It's by Kerstin Gier, which is a German book and a German author. This one, I don't know. This one's really hard, actually. This is the second book in the series. It's the Edelstein Trilogie, which is like the Gemstone trilogy or like the Time Travelers trilogy, depends on where exactly you are, what it's called in English. And this is the second book, and I feel like it was just laying the foundation for the third book. And for me, not that much happened. I rated it 4 stars, but I will say I rated it mostly 4 stars because I just like the series as a whole, not necessarily because of this book. I guess I rated it 3.5 and rounded up to 4. So I don't know then if I should do 10 out of 10 vibes, 3 out of 5 book, or if I should just put it in meh. I don't think I would put it in quite good. This is really hard. I'm gonna put it in 10 out of 10 vibes, 3 out of 5 book, but with the caveat, the vibes are not really 10 out of 10. It's more like 8 out of 10 on vibes. Like, it's not like some of these other books where I just want to like soak in the world and like inject it directly into my veins. Like, I just loved the atmosphere, the vibe so much. It's not like that. I just really enjoyed it, but I wasn't like obsessed with the vibes, which for me, this tier was mostly created for books where I was obsessed with the vibes. But I think I'm just going to put it in there anyways. And then we have the Bridge Kingdom. We also have the second one. I'll just do them together. I also will really quick put any sequels next to their own books. I think that's it. So the Bridge Kingdom is book 1 of the Bridge Kingdom series. It's a 6-book series. And then the Traitor Queen is book 2. And it's one of those series where it's about different couples for each duology. So technically it's a 6-book series, but the only books that are about these 2 specific characters are book 1 and book 2. And then 3 and 4, it's about a completely different couple. So I don't know if I'm ever going to read book 3 and 4, because I just really in general have an issue if a book has a different couple later on in the series. I just feel like I really have a hard time connecting, because when I read about that world, it was for that couple. And that's already what's in my brain, and I really don't want to read about somebody else. I don't know, like I really have to have connected with the characters in book 1 and book 2 to then want to read about them in book 3 and book 4, and I really didn't in this series. And I know so many people say, oh, but the characters are so amazing and book 3 and 4 are the best. Like, I've heard that so often. So I think I'll suck it up and just do it eventually. But as of right now, I've just read the first 2. And I really, really liked these books. I gave them 5 stars. I don't know if I would say obsessed 6 out of 5. I think I would just put them in solid 5 stars. I don't really think, like, again, I don't think they're literary masterpieces. I don't think they're necessarily deserving of a solid 5-star rating in this regard, because solid 5 stars to me sounds like the book has almost no faults. And I think these books do have faults, but also I think they're better than quite good. So I'm going to put them in here, but on the low end of solid 5 stars, just so you know. Oh, by the way, the Bridge Kingdom and the Traitor Queen, I don't think I said, it's by Danielle L. Jensen. She is the author. And then next up, we've got The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert and The Boy Who Didn't Come Home by Melissa Albert. The Boy Who Didn't Come Home is a novella. It's just a short story about one of the characters in The Hazelwood. And I liked the novella much more than I liked the actual book. I think the actual book, I'm debating between meh and 10 out of 10 vibes, 3 out of 5 book, because I don't think the book itself was very good. I just really didn't feel connected to the characters. I don't know. I had a lot of issues with the book, but I don't know if I would say the vibes are 10 out of 10. I think I'm just going to put it in meh. I did end up giving it 3 stars. The Boy Who Didn't Come Home, I'll put it here, but at the low end. So definitely behind Saphirblau, because yeah, I also think just in the series in general, it was not my favorite, but I definitely like the novella more. The Last Wish by Andrzej Sapkowski. I love this book. It's The Witcher, and it's, I believe, book 0.5 in the series. And it's kind of just a collection of short stories of the Witcher, Geralt, doing a ton of witchery stuff and just fighting monsters right and left. And I love this book. I think I'm going to put it in obsessed 6 out of 5. It's almost solid 5 stars because I don't know if I'd consider myself obsessed. And I know I've debated this also in another one of my videos before with the Witcher series. But the more that I think about it, the more I think that I am kind of obsessed with it. So I think I'm going to put it up here. And then Riden's chapter, that's Thanks I Hated It. It's actually not the book that I was thinking of when I created that tier, but it fits very well. I absolutely hated it. I gave it 2 stars, and I think it was 1.5 rounded up to 2. I really hated it so much. And as the name suggests, this is one chapter from Daughter of the Pirate King by Tricia Levenseller. And it is written from the point of view of Riden, who's the main male protagonist in that book. And I believe it's the first chapter. It's when they first meet each other, like when they first lay eyes upon each other on the ship. And I don't know what it was about this chapter, but I hated it. I feel like the writing didn't feel like Tricia Levenseller at all. It didn't feel like the series at all. It felt very disconnected from the whole series, and it didn't feel like Riden. And if you've read it, you probably know what I'm saying. It doesn't have very good reviews in general, and I think it's because a lot of people just felt like there was this huge disconnect. I did not enjoy it at all. I really, really, really hated it. The 7-Year Slip. This one is solid 5 stars, and I think I'm going to put it before The Bridge Kingdom. This shocked me. It's a contemporary romance book. It's by Ashley Posten, and I loved it so much. I'm still shocked to this day that I loved it so much. I read this like maybe a month ago now, maybe 3 weeks ago, and I honestly think about it all the time. And I just like am so in wonder that I rated it so highly, because I'm usually very harsh on contemporary romance books. They're not my cup of tea, but I read them as palate cleansers, and I'm not really sure what else to read as palate cleansers other than contemporary romance books. I just always want something very short and easy and simple, and like a quick read where I can just turn my brain off. And for me, there really is only contemporary romance for this. And so usually I don't rate them super highly, but I read them anyways because I want palate cleansers in between my kind of longer, more epic fantasy books. And I really liked this book. I was so shocked. I think it's a great book. I think the plot was amazing. I liked just about every single thing. Solid 5 stars. Yellowface, I'm going to put this in quite good, and I'm going to put it above Paladin's Grace, I think. I don't know. Yeah. I'm going to put it above Paladin's Grace. I'm kind of like, really they're the same for me. Like if I could stack them on top of each other, I would, but that's not possible. But just keep in mind, I would stack them on top of each other if it were possible. I really liked both of them for completely different reasons, and I kind of dislike both of them also for completely different reasons. I think Yellowface was just so well written. It's by R.F Kuang. Sorry, I didn't say that. I think she's an amazing author. I really like her so far. I just read her in this book for the very first time, and I just feel like the book was very interesting. It was a really good subject to broach, and I think the main character was so dislikable in such a fun, well-written way. And then Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. I'm gonna say meh, and I think I'm gonna put it in front of the Hazelwood, actually. I don't think it was that bad, but also I don't think it was amazing at all. I don't really feel meh about it. I'm kind of like on the upper end of meh about it. Like, I'm almost to the point where I could say, you know, it was like a decent read. It wasn't that great, but it also wasn't that bad. There were a lot of things I really didn't like about it, and I feel like Ali Hazelwood's books are cookie cutter kind of copies of one another. It's always a really big, tall, brooding guy, and then a really teeny tiny petite woman. She's so teeny tiny, and I just feel like she always does that. It's like always that combination of people. And I feel like her books rely a lot on miscommunication or just lack of communication, and that really drives me crazy. So I really did not like that aspect, but I do think that this book was really fun at certain points in time. I really liked the STEM aspect of it, and I really liked the side plot that was kind of a little bit of a thriller mystery, I guess you could kind of say. I know I said earlier that I really don't like mysteries, but this one to me though was fun because it was just a side plot. Like, it wasn't like a normal mystery where everything is really slow and then all of a sudden it really picks up at the end. Like, there was stuff happening the whole time because it was not the main plot. The main plot was the romance and whatnot. And this was just a plot on the side that kind of was just hovering on the side the whole time. And then at the end, all of a sudden it was like, oh, look at me, I'm a big plot point now. And I just thought that was really fun, and I really enjoyed it. I think that kind of really redeemed the book a lot for me, because especially towards the end, I was not liking it that much. Then I've got Starter Villain by John Scalzi. This is solid 5 stars at the absolute top. I'm not obsessed with it, so I'm not going to put it up here, but I just want to say I feel like it does deserve to be at the top, but I'm just not obsessed with it, so I'm not going to do it. But this was such a good book. I think if it was a series, then maybe I would have put it in obsessed, but it was just one very quick, short, standalone book. For that, I don't know, it's really hard for me to be obsessed with just a very short standalone book. Like, it has to really be absolutely over the top, blowing me out of the water for me to be obsessed with it. I just feel like it's so much easier to become obsessed with a series. You just spend more time in the world and with the characters and whatnot, and this one was just like a little taste. However, it was so good. It was so funny. The writing was amazing. John Scalzi, just in general, I'm gonna read so much more from him, I'm sure, because I loved this book. This was my first taste of John Scalzi, and I absolutely loved it. Then Dangerous Prayers by Craig Groeschel. This is a nonfiction, so it feels a little bit weird to put it in here. Because I don't think I would ever say about a nonfiction book 10 out of 10 vibes. And I also don't think I would ever say obsessed about a nonfiction book. I don't know. I don't want to say never, because who knows. But for me, I'm going to put it in solid 5 stars. And I'm going to put it here, above the 7-Year Slip and below Starter Villain. It's basically just about how, as Christians, we should be praying dangerous prayers more often, and we've gotten like a little bit lax and too afraid, I guess, to actually pray these dangerous prayers and then to listen and then follow. So yeah, I really liked it. I think it was so good. I think I really got a lot out of it, and I really enjoyed it. I think it was very short and sweet and succinct. It wasn't too long. It also wasn't too short. It was just perfect. It was like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. It was like just right. I just loved it. Then we've got Tarnished Empire by Danielle L. Jensen again. And this is a different series from her. It is the Dark Shores series. And this is, I believe, book 0.5. It's the backstory of Marcus, who is a main character in either book 1 or book 2. I can't remember. I'm reading book 1 and book 2 together right now as a tandem read, and I get the characters confused on which one is in which book, so I have no idea. but he's in one of them. And so this is the backstory, kind of giving you a little bit more information, and then also a little bit more information about another character, Agrippa and Sylvana, that kind of slight romance between them, because I believe they come back in book 3. I don't know, I'm not 100% sure, but I just know people said before you read book 3, there are characters in book 3 who are important and they're introduced in this book, and you should be reading this book before you go into book 3. And then a lot of people said if you're new to the series, just start off with it. So that's what I did, and I really liked it. I rated it 4.5 stars and I rounded down to 4, and I think I'm gonna put it in quite good, and I'm gonna put it before Yellowface, I think. I really enjoyed it. I think it was very, very immersive and atmospheric. Like, the atmosphere was a kind of Roman legions war camp, and you really felt like you were there. And that could be a good thing or a bad thing. I didn't particularly like that atmosphere, but I think it was so well written that I enjoyed that aspect of it, even though I'm not super big into war conquest books or anything like that. And that's very much this book. I still really liked it. And I think the characters were so good. I absolutely loved Agrippa. I'm so obsessed with him. And then The Only One Left by Riley Sager. I'm putting this in meh, and I'm putting this, I guess, before the Hazelwood, but below Love on the Brain, because I did not really like this book that much. I just gave it 3 stars, just solid 3 stars, didn't round up or down. It was so slow to me in the beginning, and then a lot happened at the end, but I kind of had already guessed what would happen at the end. I didn't guess it with 100% accuracy, but I guessed it with enough accuracy that I wasn't like gasping at the end, and it didn't really blow me out of the water. I don't know, I wasn't really crazy about this book. So I'm just putting it in meh, just really middle of the road, also in meh. And then Powerless, that goes up here at the top of 10 out of 10 vibes, 3 out of 5 book. That is the book that I created this tier for. I loved this book, but I also really did not like it at the same time. I think that the vibes, I don't know, just the plot was so much fun, and I really, really liked it. But I also feel like the plot felt like it was already done. I feel like it was a combination of The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins, The Selection by Kiera Cass, and Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. A combination of those books, or you could just sub in basically any other YA novel, and it also kind of just felt like that. Like, it didn't feel like it was new, but it felt like it was a little bit of a twist, at least, on those plots. And also, I felt like the writing was really bad. I did not like the dialogue. It was very unbelievable, very cheesy, very cliched, the whole book in general. But I overlooked all of that because I just really liked the vibes. I just think it was so much fun. I could see this being a guilty pleasure read of mine for sure. And then The Shadows Between Us by Tricia Levenseller. This is Thanks, I Hated It, and I think I'm going to put it beneath Riden's chapter. This is why I created this tier. I absolutely hated this book. The more that I think about it, the more that I hate this book. I'm not going to get into it, but you can watch my reading vlog from, I want to say at the beginning of June, like the middle of June then, I guess, maybe. And then you can see my real-time reaction to this book for the most part and what I'm thinking as I'm reading it. And then you can watch my monthly recap for June to learn about my final ratings for this and my final thoughts. But I will just summarize this book by saying I absolutely hated it, and it was awful, and there's no redeeming qualities for this book. And then Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. This book I really, really liked a lot. I don't know if I would say obsessed 6 out of 5. I think I'm gonna put it in solid 5 stars, but I think I'm gonna put it at the end. Boy, I don't know. Yeah, I think I'm gonna put it at the end. This is another one where I don't really feel like it's solid 5 stars, as in it's like I have no notes for it or anything. Like, I've got some notes for it for sure. This is one of those books where it's almost, I would consider putting it in 10 out of 10 vibes, 3 out of 5 book, or in quite good, because I feel like the reason I liked it so much is because of the vibes and just because of dragons in general. I'm a huge fan of dragons. And so that really won me over. And so I feel like I liked it so much because of those aspects and not necessarily because it was actually a solid 5-star read and it was written well. I feel like saying it was solid 5 stars is maybe doing a disservice to other books that were actually 5 stars. Like Starter Villain by John Scalzi, for example, is in another league of its own. Like, it genuinely was so good and I truly have no notes. Fourth Wing, for me, and also the Bridge Kingdom and the Traitor Queen, those all are solid 5 stars for me because I just enjoyed reading them so much. Not necessarily because they were actually so well written. And so maybe I should have created another tier, which is 5 stars to me based on the vibes, and then solid 5 stars, no notes, because then the 3 books would definitely be separated a little bit. But I just feel like I wouldn't call them quite good because I liked it more than quite good. So I'm gonna leave it there, but just with that little caveat so that you know. There's caveats on almost all these books. I really struggle with putting them in boxes like this because it's just like such an abstract thing to me, and to force it into a box like this is just really hard. But these are my ratings for these books. Like I said, if you want to hear more about them, then you can check out my monthly recaps. I'll list the playlist below in the description box. Let me know in the comments below if you've read any of these books and what you thought and where you would put them on here compared to where I put them on here. I am really curious. I know The Shadows Between Us has some 5-star reviews. So I know that there are some people out there who like it. And also The Only One Left by Riley Sager, I feel like that one was recommended to me by 1,000 people. So many people were obsessed with it. And I really didn't like it. It's like way down on the list. But also, on the other hand, I know of so many people who really hated Fourth Wing and a lot of people who hated the Bridge Kingdom and the Traitor Queen. So I would like to hear where you are on this kind of scale. And thank you for watching. I hope that you all have an amazing day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.